Oh, Chillins wins the prize. Ladies and gentlemen, what prize is that? Well, I'll tell you. It's Thursday, November 29th, 2012, and I asked the question, what would be the shirt that I am wearing? And Chillins nailed it. Puzzle Juice. Oh, crap, I'm in 4x3. What? Oh my god, this overlay isn't on? I gotta turn the overlay on? Wow, I actually didn't check my settings. Look at this. So it should be a frozen screen, but don't worry. Here I am. Puzzle Juice! Yeah! I'm wearing a Puzzle Juice shirt. I eventually wound up at the correct settings. Very excited and very thrilled. I've done an exorbitant amount of sleeping. Hence the hair. Whoosh, every which way. Fantastic. My chair seems to be relaxing. Okay. Great. Perfect. Wonderful. Welcome to daily number 528, where we learn to be a better gamer. Yesterday's daily was a fairly technical, brief, two-part daily exploring the Phoenix. Today will be sort of a lulls-worthy 83-minute-long Terran versus Zerg. Earlier today I asked, what would be your request for a daily? And this was far and away the most requested one by tremendous margins, so we're going to do it. In very exciting announcements, IPL 5 is going on. If you're joining me here instead of watching IPL 5, it's wonderful to have you, and you should probably do what I'm doing and have the IPL 5 stream open up on another monitor. There's a lot of cool matches today. Scarlet took down Ryung 2-0 earlier today. Yeah, Scarlet! And I will be continuing all weekend long. And of course, I am going to be doing the subscriber mana battles on Sunday. And then next weekend, I'll be at the NASL Grand Finals in Long Beach. You should come! I'll be there. Let me just crack my neck. Oh. What? It didn't work. Ugh, my neck was a dud. I don't know. Just nothing worked. So, let's talk about today's daily, shall we? We shall. ThorZaiN and TargA played in a game that was 83 minutes long. That's basically it. We're going to be walking into this game very fast because, let's be honest, if it's an 83-minute game and I do 20-minute parts, it's going to take some time, ain't it? I'm going to jump into it. So we're going to be stepping into this game, and I'll be introducing the game as the game starts. And, of course, I'll enable the sound. It's going to be a top right versus bottom left game on Cloud Kingdom, and I will note that I actually had this game pre-loaded. Everything was loaded up. I had it on ×8 speed. I disabled the sound, so that way I wouldn't hear the ridiculous amount of explosions going on while I was just getting it all preloaded, and then I smartly closed the replay. So, excellent. Aw, yeah. So the things that I want to be focusing on today is when and how to transition. Because I would say that most people have a very, I would say, adequate idea of what goes down in the early stage from up till about 30 minutes. And yes, I do say early stage. Sure, we have early, mid, and late game, but I mean, like, most of you have seen at least a couple of games that have gone to 30 minutes and have some sense of an idea of what should go on. And all you need is some sense of an idea. I'll interrupt just to note that TargA does a very cute little scout path to spot any sort of shenaniganry. And of course, TargA asking for the views, no problem, says ThorZaiN. I'd be absolutely thrilled and delighted to, TargA. And also, by the way, is it wrong for me to find you so attractive? That's what that means in Swedish. So yeah, you generally have the sense of what goes on in that 30-minute period at the beginning of the game, where a lot of everything is scripted. There's things to consider that will adjust your script, but you won't generally see too much free-form thought in those first 30 minutes for your average everyday game. Sure, if you're playing at the absolute tip-top of levels, there's a lot of consideration to make, but for the most part, it's following the script. In this game, we're going to get the opportunity to see deviations from the script, considerations of when to break away, the idea of, oh my gosh, my script is coming to a close. And one of the best players at just continuing to come up with an absolutely fantastical sense of how to keep moving his game along is, of course, ThorZaiN. So he is going to be the topic of the day. What have we seen thus far? Pew! I pause. TargA. Going for the 4-queen play. Very simple. Early expand, go double queen. Don't do the next inject. Just turn those queens into creep poopers. Poop away! And then it allows you to take a very fast third, defending it with just queenies. ThorZaiN is going for the very fast blue flame, excuse me, very fast double flame Hellion. As anticipated. This is what I mean by this script, right? I can just sort of zoom this along, and everyone's seen this 1,000 times. TargA does this, I think, kind of snazzy little play. He's going to be going for these Evo Chambers and the Spine Crawler way before he even has the gas to do it, just to be able to wall in versus these Hellions. This ensures it's just 2 queens versus 2 Hellions, yada yada, etc. And also, in order to execute this play, we have a 5th queen out of TargA. Kind of a cool little variation that we are seeing. This will also mean that we're probably going to be getting +1 melee and +1 carapace out of these Evo Chambers rather than going for the plus zergling speed at the start. Why is that? Well, if we built queens for defense, we may as well focus on queens for defense. We don't want to back up and get the speed zergling upgrade. If we wanted to do that, we probably just shouldn't have built the 5th queen. It's kind of a contradictory idea. And over in Camp ThorZaiN, yep, going for the standard early expando. Now, ThorZaiN's big goal is to delay, take a 3rd command center, and then do either double armory or double engineering bay. Right now, what we are watching is the delay phase of that unbelievably eloquently stated thing. I'm not the biggest fan of TargA going for zergling speed here, and then Baneling Nest, and still not using these things. This kind of stings my soul. I think that this would have been very clever to go for the ++ upgrades, but regardless, TargA does the reasonable choice. If I am defending my space with evolution chambers, I may as well also use those evolution chambers to defend against air. When I say defend space, I really should say defend Hellions, because this is an anti-Hellion play. So, well done, TargA. Staying alive! I told you we were going to be going at hyper warp speed. Alright. Alright, we're almost at 9 minutes, which means that we are almost 1/9 of the way through the game. So far, so good, right? Hyper warp speed? Why not hyper warp speed, I say? Why the heck not? So I'm going to be trying to commentate on both players' decision-makerings for this brief period in history. This is kind of a nice, what I would call an islanded defense. This expansion can defend itself all on its own. Doesn't need to have this connection point between the 2 bases. So TargA can comfortably defend here without any reinforcement from these 2 queens and vice versa. It seems a little bit on the costly side. I would prefer maybe some more queens and or more zerglings to defend this, so TargA does a reasonable job holding all this shenanigans off. Along a similar vein, I think a lot of people are starting to enjoy using this opening to transition to mech because the Banshees are such a critical piece to the mid-game puzzle for a meching player. If you're doing this and you want to be going for something like a double engineering bay play, and you want to be going for the Marine Marauder upgrades, you can be a little bit more liberal with these Banshees, poke in here and maybe suicide to kill off 10 drones, suicide with these maybe to kill off some drones, but if you're intending to go mech, conservation of these Banshees is super duper duper critical. So I don't mind this poking at all. I wouldn't even mind breaking off 4 Hellions and suiciding them at some point to like go into main and that sort of stuff, but certainly the Banshees should be kept alive. Now TargA's doing something that only really TargA seems to be able to do and win with it. Almost everyone else that I see do this, I'm just like, don't do that, no. These kinds of tiny counterattacks, I have suddenly had recent opinions on that I would describe as revelatory. On any map, I don't care if it's Cloud Kingdom or Ohana, or Daybreak, what have you, generally you'll be seeing the opponent apply pressure at the 3rd base, such as, you know, these units that were just applying pressure at the 3rd base. This is very common. Not at the natural, or not in this general region, because creep spread is just way too far out. And generally, your opponent will be going for his 3rd base. Zergling counters of 12 Zerglings or less. I really like a lot for two reasons. One, it generally lets you know if your opponent is going for mech or for Marine Marauder, and it's quite effective. Why is this so effective? Well, generally he's going to be focusing all his resources on plunging right into your third base. We don't want to send like 40 Zerglings over here because they're pretty much guaranteed to die. We do get great intel. Seeing this many Hellions, no one would ever build quite this many Hellions and quite this many Banshees and then go Marine Marauder medevac unless there was something severely wrong with their outlook on life. In other words, this is just a bad play, getting this much stuff. This factory will generally have been lifted if your opponent is going for Marine, Marauder, medevac, tank, that sort of stuff. So, of course, ThorZaiN does the ever so typical follow-up. He's following up with the dual Thor play. And TargA does another maneuver that I think is really slick. This seems completely bad, right? This seems like a real risky play because TargA does not have really anything to be able to hold it off in a... or to prevent anything from reaching up to this hatch and attacking it. However, it turns out to be quite brilliant, just given the fact that TargA is going to be applying so much pressure with these Mutalisks that he will have enough time while this hatch is building to build up the defenses for it. And I would say that your modern strain of Zerg, your current breed of Zerg, looks for fourth bases between 10 and 13 minutes now. Just stupid fast fourth bases. I'm seeing this in Zerg versus Zerg a lot. Players saying, oh, you're going Muta? I'm just going to take my fourth base. Or, oh, you're going for a third expansion? Oh, that's fine. I'm just going to go for a fourth base. Weirdly, the longer your opponent does this stuff, the safer this expansion is. Again, the longer my opponent is building Hellions and Banshees, the safer taking this expansion is. This is counterintuitive, but it's true, because you're either going to be going for Infestors or Mutalisks. So, depending on how much pressure they apply at your third, if it's just a little bit, you might be a little bit leery of taking this because you're about to have a whole bunch of Marines or Thors or some other core unit move in here. But if he's been super aggro, you know, killing drones, messing with you like crazy, or I guess not killing drones, but still messing with you. If he's messing with you a lot, then this is a great play. So I really like that little move there. So again, what makes this work all in all is the fact that you can get your Roach Warren or something else. And again, our Zergling counterattack helped reveal to us that our opponent was indeed going mech, because we still saw Hellion Banshee. ThorZaiN doing the normal move, mega ups, and transitioning out of this Hellion Banshee simply involved going for double factory. I will say, I'm kind of questioning whether it's best to lift this and land and go tech lab, and then build factory 4 on top of there. I actually like that quite a bit more if you've been able to conserve Hellion count, because, you know, most Terrans are just not going to be building extra Hellions right now. And you can even do a 6 Thor timing push. Oh, day 9, your build thoughts. They're so Gosu ×2. And a new viewer's like, what's Gosu? And I'm like, get with it, man, if you want to be part of the StarCraft community. By the way, I've decided to lounge in my chair. Most of the time I lean forward at the camera, but today, we got an hour-long game. We should kick it back. Go easy. Here, let me just... good, the frumpy cam. Perfect. Excelente. Okay, so there's the double upgrade, and basically we go factory, 1 factory, and then we go add 2 factories, add more factories. Oh, why a reactor? Because all dem gases for dem upgrades. So ThorZaiN does his usual smart plays, controlling the map. TargA, macro hatch. It's so late. Why is it so late? Because he's a boss, and he goes for his extra expansion. And likewise, doing some good coverage, getting some spine crawlers up, although I'd much more prefer Overlord. I don't think this is necessary. I think that just getting the speed upgrade is kind of a better solution to this. But I wouldn't mind some extra spines there. Controlling the map, Controlling the map like that. ThorZaiN also does his little cool maneuver. This is one of the... this is what you do at the end of the mid-game. Just flood command centers so that way you can sack SCVs and just kind of hang around 45. But a timing push. At when? At +2 things. Yes. What time are we at? We're doing great on time. I am one of the few people that thinks that hives should be gotten later against mech. I honestly think that just going pure roach mutalisk is probably my ideal composition against the mech player. Because if you build a lot of roaches and you engage, and he has tanks to defend, well, you can run away with the roaches and then counterattack. And then as the roaches die, you flood mutalisks. And when I say flood mutalisks, I'm talking like 40 mutalisks, man. Burn all this gas that you want to be dumping into your Broodlord Infestor stuff. Regardless, TargA gets it. You look at the force and you say, can I kill that? Can I kill that? If the answer is yes, you do. If the answer is no, then you counterattack. Even with all these SCVs on their auto repairage, without tanks, Thors are gonna die. As long as the roaches aren't sufficiently gigantic for numbers. Like here, a flood of mutalisks. I want you to imagine 21 roaches. How much gas is that? Geez, 20 times 4, or divided by 4, that's 5 mutalisks. We could have like another 10 mutalisks. Oh yeah. 10 mutalisks getting pumped out. What do you do with the remainder of it? Frickin' expand, expand, go crazy, mute a roach, fast units, taking opposite corners of the map. He has what? 2 Thors? No problem. Punch his face out. That's what I'm talking about, man. Seriously, I'm strongly against going for Broodlords on... Okay, well let me actually note that because I'm seeing people just go like, what? Just people like freaking out. Look, let's get out of the front B view. Let's get out of the lean back. Let's kick it forward a notch. Why do I advocate to like not Broodlords in this situation so much? Here we go. Yeah. Good. If our opponent is going for Marine Tank Medevac, in essence, he is attacking us with minerals. Marines are minerals, and he's upgraded them like crazy. His restricting factor is how many minerals he has to hurl at us. And the way that we end up combating it is with what? Gas, infestors, broodlords. Sure, the zerglings will end up doing the... or will be the bulk of our force in terms of just count and supply. But... it is not nearly as critical as the infestors and the broodlords. Again, just imagine, would you rather have 120 zerglings against Marine? Or would you rather have some broodlord infestor? Almost everyone would be in the second category, and you'd be quite right. Fortunately, you get both, but again, the broodlord infestor is the quite right portion of that. Now, when you're up against a mech player, it's the exact opposite. He is trying to hurl at you. What? Gas. Lots of scary, gassy things. Gassy, 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 gas. He is going for a lot of tanks, upgrades, Thors. He needs factories, which also cast gas. You don't need that when you go barracks. Thusly, the Terran player will be, having some mineral spent on Hellions, but is primarily restricted by gas. Now, I'll just note, should you combat this with minerals? What are your mineral units? Zerglings are the big mineral units, and some roaches. Too many Zerglings will... or small numbers of Zerglings will die to Hellions, but other than the Hellions, yeah, Zergling Roach is going to work extremely effectively against a meching player, primarily due to that mobility. We can attack at all sorts of different angles. What about things like, I want you to imagine a huge pack of infestors, a huge pack of mutalisks. I mean, maybe you can do some counterattacks with the mutalisks. Actually, the counterattack with mutalisks is quite strong. But the infestors, the fungal growths aren't nearly as strong. Sure, they can throw out a whole lot of the infested terrans, but we've also seen them kind of have a flip-floppy strength in that circumstance. And infestors also are really relying heavily on direct engagements. And bluntly, against a mech army, you're trying to avoid direct engagements. Therefore, You can combat a mech army quite well by focusing mainly on the minerals in the early and mid stages. If you try to rush too hard to Broodlords, what happens? You're Broodlord Infester, and he is Thor Viking. It's not that difficult for a meching player to go Viking because he doesn't need his starport. He's already got a starport because he opened up Banshee, so he can actually just go Thor Viking, and he's in amazing shape. Broodlings, not nearly as good because he has so much armor upgrades, and he has the Hellions. If you do have 6 gas, if you do have something like, if you have 6 base, so you have 12 gas, sure, you can end up flooding with a whole bunch of Broodlords and close the game out. But I don't like rushing for it. In this circumstance where TargA has just won the big fight, these roaches controlling this watchtower, Mutalisks popping out to control Banshee and Hellion flow guarantees that we can go expand opposite corners. He can't push both, he must only push one, and then we can really flood Mutalisks as we tech up to the hive. Again, we are going to use our minerals to combat them. Our gassy things, Hydras, Infestors, going up to that tech with the Broodlord. It's not going to really work very well. I really feel like TargA is in a fantastic situation, but I just want to note this one thing that ends up happening right now. TargA begins to go Broodlords, and where are they? Where are these freaking starports? Where the frick are the friggin' starports? Guys, I found them. Everyone needs to calm down. So all of a sudden, ThorZaiN can just flood a bunch of starports. Why? Either because he said, wow, he should probably be getting a hive right now, or he scanned and just saw it morphing. And now, what's going to happen? He can easily flood the metal units he needs. And, I mean, 5 Broodlords he's going to be fine against. So, in part 1, we basically walked through the script at warp speed. And actually, I should probably go at warper speed in part 2. But I stopped and got hung up quite a bit on the way that people are playing mech currently, or playing versus mech currently, still trying to tech up to Broodlords. I honestly think that the mass expanding, the Mutalisk roaching, staying at mid-game for a little bit longer is much more effective. And we explain why. When we come back for part 2, we're going to pick up right where we left off and talk about ThorZaiN's transition as he sees it. Therefore, let us go to a break. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Going to a break. Going to a break. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.